70% of Somalis are dependent on climate-sensitive agriculture and pastoralism for their livelihoods. As the risks of climate change continue to intensify, communities in Somaliland are bearing the brunt of unreliable weather. Abdurrahman, a father of 10 and the sole breadwinner of his family, hails from a village in Somaliland. His is a story that many farmers across the region can identify with.
I have been a farmer for over 10 years now. I started this farm recently. I used to grow various crops such as cabbage, salads, tomatoes, onions and coriander on this other nearby farm. We earn our living from farming only. We have no other income, and in this regard, no connection to the town.
The effects of climate change include desertification, failure to dam the rainwater which flows into the sea, and lack of pastures. There is wanton destruction of trees. We are not endowed with abundant forests. Our country is arid and semi-arid. When a tree that has stood for 50 years is felled for timber or for charcoal, it affects the land. It denies lives to livestock. The farms in the west account for 10% of production. Fruits and vegetable cash crops as well as fodder for livestock. Climate change has been hitting both livestock and farmlands.
If we see the overall economy of Somalia, more than 70% of its people as well as the livelihoods are dependent on climate-sensitive livelihoods, mainly agriculture and livestock. That's where you see, it's really impacting most. Whenever there is a drought cycle, for instance, the livelihoods which are dependent on whether it's farming or raising the livestock, those livelihoods start to suffer.
Small-scale farmers like Dika have been facing repeated and cyclical droughts that have eroded their abilities to earn meaningful incomes to sustain their families. These communities who depend on rain-fed agriculture are the most affected by climate change and have limited power, voice, and access to information. Dika's story changed when she attended training on integrative farming techniques organized by the government in partnership with the UNDP.
We were taught good trade skills. We were trained to trade in farm produce. We even had money set aside for trading. But when the drought started, we stopped saving the money. We were taught how to trade in all aspects of farming, and we benefited from trade courses. This was learned from the agencies.
More than 300 million people in Africa do not have access to clean and safe water. And the number of people at risk of increased water stress on the continent is projected to double by 2050.
Somaliland has a pastoralist economy. I would want to have water catchment areas in every possible area, be they gabions or dams, done by the national government, by the region and by the agencies. If this is done, it will generate pastures for the livestock. Our land depends mostly on livestock. We should have water catchment projects and reduce charcoal burning.
Scarcity of natural resources such as water has been a source of human displacement and conflict. Abdurrahman and Dika are residents of Koita, a region that has been at the extreme of all the problems associated with climate change. To help bridge the capacity gaps, the United Nations Development Programme, UNDP, and the Global Environment Facility, GEF, in partnership with the Somaliland government, started an innovative project enhancing climate resilience of vulnerable communities and ecosystems.
Climate change is a global problem, but then when it comes to countries which are least developed countries and also the states like Somalia which are coming out of the conflict, the vulnerability to climate change becomes even much more higher. Somalia is ranked as number 7 in the world as being the most vulnerable country in the entire sort of group of nations which is impacted by climate change. And within Africa, it's the most vulnerable. The problem is huge. The challenges also are very big. That's why I think it's imperative for Somalia to be prepared to deal with the issues of climate change and the extreme events that happen because of the climate change.
Regions like Somaliland have good potential of wind and solar energy resources. However, the use of solar energy has been rather limited in Somaliland. During the project, the UNDP and government of Japan supplied solar diesel battery hybrid systems to selected hospitals in Somaliland, Puntland and South Central.
This UNDP solar project has transformed the hospital immensely by providing power supply as well as rebuilding the hospital that was in dire need of assistance. Resources such as finance, supply of drugs and other amenities that were required before now provide major assistance to workers at the hospital who see it as a major boost in the development of the hospital. We have 30 solar panels installed at the hospital, as you have witnessed, together with their batteries that supply power to the other departments of the hospital. The most important lesson that we have learned from this project is the importance of having the availability of power supply for 24 hours in the hospital.
So what we are trying to do through this project is to show that there are other options available, particularly solar, and this is becoming more and more affordable. People are really trying to go towards solar because there is plenty of sun available in Somalia, and it's also to do with the easy ways of operating the solar systems. Once you have installed it, then there is hardly any chance that it will go into some problems or malfunction. So it's a sort of win-win proposition when we talk about Somalia, and it's improving the access to energy just because of these interventions, and many other organizations are also now coming in and following the same approach of using solar systems at household level and community level.
To sum up, global climate change has specifically affected Somaliland. The biggest obstacle is to find a solution. There is need for concerted efforts to collectively combat climate change. There is need for humanitarian and long-term programs. We must place emphasis on tangible action. We pray that we can all work together to overcome this. To conclude, I thank the UNDP and international community. I thank the government of Somaliland for bringing the agencies that are aiding us here. I thank them all.